Now let's move on to our last area, that is dashboards. So I have created two types of dashboards. The first being the out-of-the-box dashboard that you can create using D365 or Power Apps. And the second is a Power BI dashboard that I've created in my Power BI and have embedded it in my grant management system model-driven app. I've used Dataverse as my database for my Power BI dashboard too. So my first dashboard is the Power Apps out-of-the-box dashboard. This dashboard is quite simple. So I just have three elements here. That is my received emails, my sent emails, and my active grant applications. So if I want, I can also include charts, graphs, tables, and other elements that are available in this out-of-the-box dashboard. But I thought I would just save it for my Power BI dashboard because I've created a very elaborate dashboard using Power BI and I've used charts, tables, etc. So I'll just move on to that now. So I'll choose my Power BI dashboard from here. So this is my Power BI dashboard. So the Power BI dashboard uses data from Dataverse that we have stored using our model-driven app, and the same data will be shown here in our Power BI desktop as we have integrated Power BI into our model-driven app. So this is my grant management pre-award phase dashboard. So since we are only talking about the pre-award phase now, my dashboard is pretty simple because we have very few entities at this stage. So the visuals that I have used for this dashboard are, you can see three card visuals towards the left, and then we have a pie chart, then a donut chart, a graph, and a table. So let's look at each one of them in detail. First, we have the card visuals, which is pretty straightforward. And we have three card visuals. The first card visual shows the total number of programs. The second one shows the total grant applications that we have received through all the programs. And the last card visual shows the total amount approved. So once a proposal has been approved, the grant making organization will also approve the funds that would be allocated for that particular application or project. And this card visual here is a roll-up field in the entity federal budget details, which calculates the sum of all the funds that have been approved for all the proposals received through all the programs. So next we have a pie chart, and this pie chart is based on the entity grant programs, and it basically shows the distribution of the program budget between all the programs. So in our case, we have just three programs, that is educational grants, research grants, and housing grants. I mean, as per our current data, we have 7 million for educational grants, 5 million for research grants, and 3 million for housing grants. So my next visual is a donut chart, and this donut chart is representing my grant applications entity, and it shows the review status of all the applications that we have received. So as you can see, the review status is a choice field with 4 options. So the legend shows these 4 options and the review status of each application. So as you can see in this chart, the first option, the review status, is yet to review. The second is under review. Third is reviewed but rejected. And the fourth is reviewed and approved. Now moving on to our next visual, that is a bar chart. So this bar chart represents my grant applications entity, and it shows the approval status of all the applications. So you can see in this chart the total number of applications that have been approved and the ones that are rejected. So based on our current data, we can see that 3 applications have been approved and just 1 application has been rejected. For the sake of this example, I have just created 7 grant applications just to demonstrate the various visuals. So last but not the least is a table. So with this visual, that is a table, I have used the entity applications approved for the award. It's a simple table that shows the various grant applications that have been approved for the award, and consists of columns like proposal name, organization name, program name, funds requested, amount approved, and approval decision date. So now this dashboard is quite interactive. So if you want to dive deep into the details regarding a particular aspect or value of any visualization, we can directly interact with the visualizations and we can get those details. Like for example, in my pie chart, if I want to understand a particular program that is, say, for example, educational grants or any particular value in the visualization in depth, I can just click on that portion of my chart or visualization, and all other charts or visualizations would show me the details pertaining to just this one value, that is educational grants. So let's just see how it is done. Like for example, say research grants. So if I click on my research grants portion of pie chart, I can see that all the other visualizations have changed, and the values and data that is being shown right now in all my visualizations have changed to represent the data only pertaining to my research grants. So you can see that the value of the total programs have changed to 1 because we are just looking into one program, that is research grants, and we have just 2 applications under research grants, and the total amount approved with respect to this program is just $1 million. Similarly, in my review status pie chart, you can see that since I have only 2 grant applications pertaining to research grants, this chart also depicts only 2 applications. Similarly, my bar chart is also representing just the research grants, and out of the 2 applications, 1 application has been approved and the other has been rejected. And even in my table, you can see that now we have only 2 records representing the 2 grant applications received under research grants. So this is how you can interact with a Power BI dashboard. So I just click outside the chart, we can see the whole dashboard representing our total data. Next, we'll move on to auditing. So auditing has been enabled at an organization level and at entity and field levels, or table and column levels. So let's see how this auditing works. So I'll just click on one of the applications. So here under related, I can see audit history. So if I click on audit history, I can see all the changes that has been made to this particular record till date. So the last change was made on 21st of June 2023. So as per my settings, this audit history will be saved for 90 days. And after 90 days, it would automatically get deleted. So now let's just see a small demonstration of how auditing works. Like maybe I'll just update this field, submission type code, initial application, pre-application, and revised application. So here I'll just select initial application and I'll save it. So now this is the last change or update I've made on this record. So now if I go to my audit history and check my audit history, we can see that the update that I have just made has appeared here. So that's about auditing and audit history. Since auditing has been turned on for the entire organization, I don't have to turn on auditing for every aspect of the app. I can just pick and choose which aspects of the app and which entities and fields do I want to actually audit. So I've integrated D365 with Outlook at an organization level and individual level. So now whatever emails I receive in Outlook, they will be tracked in my grant management app too. So I can directly receive and send emails to and from the app. Also, I have set up a folder tracking whereby emails will be automatically directed to the folders I've created, which will in turn be tracked in the respective records in my app. So for my app, I've created a folder level tracking for different grant programs. So I've created folders for each of my program. As of now, I've just created 3 programs for my example. So now I have created 3 folders for each of my program in my Outlook, and any email received that will contain my program name either in the subject of the email or in the body will automatically be transferred to the respective folder. And since each folder is linked to the respective program in my app, the email will not only show in my received or sent email section, but also in the timeline of those particular programs. Not only emails, even any activities scheduled in my Outlook like meetings, phone calls, event, etc. will also be tracked in the timeline of the program. So I will demonstrate it now as to what will happen when I receive an email regarding a program and how it will be handled by the D365 tracking. So this is my Outlook, and as you can see, I have created 3 folders for 3 of my programs. So now I'm going to send an email regarding one of these programs and we'll see how it is tracked by D365. So I'm going to send an email to my D365 account. And I'm going to send it regarding one of the 3 programs. So I'll just type something in the body to send it. So now when I receive it in the Outlook Express, it should arrive in my research grants folder. Okay, I've received an email in the research grants folder, and if I open it, it is this particular email. If I open, I can just read what I will send now. So this is my grant management app, and in my received email section, if you see, it shows the email that I just received from my Gmail account that is regarding research grants, and if I click it, it's the same email that I had sent some time back. So since this is related to research grants, I'm going to go to my all programs and I'm going to check my research grants record to see if this particular email is showing in the timeline of the research grants record. So this is the timeline, and as you can see, this email is being shown in the timeline of my research grants record as well. If I want, I can just open this email and I can read it. I have added my Gmail account as a contact in my D365. So the name of that contact is Aparna on my Gmail. So now, not only will this email show in my timeline of the program, but it will also show the timeline of the contact, that is Aparna on my Gmail. So if I click on my contact, and if I check the timeline, see the same email is shown in the contacts timeline as well. So basically an email received in Outlook, which is tracked in D365, will be shown in 4 different places. First, in my Outlook. Second, in my received email section. Third, in my program, that is research grants timeline. And fourth, in my contacts timeline. Now, if I want, I can send a reply from D365 directly. Like if I have received this email, so I'm just going to click it and I'm going to reply to this email. So my subject is just going to be regarding research grants, and I'm just going to type something and I'm just going to send. So now this email will come in my sent email section. See, it has already arrived in my sent email section. Now if I go to my Outlook and if I click on research grants, I can see that the sent email is shown in my Outlook research grant folder as well. It's basically going to show the communication chain with that particular contact regarding this particular program. So if I click on the folder of research grants, I can see that even the reply I sent from my D365 is being shown here as well. So now I will be able to see the chain of communication in Outlook, in that particular email. So now let's check my research grant record if the sent email also shows in the timeline. I'm just going to go to all programs, research grants. Here's the timeline. So the email that I had sent from my D365 is also showing in this record. And now let's check the contact Aparna Verma Gmail to see if the sent email appears there as well. Yes, the sent email is appearing in the contacts timeline as well. So emails received in Outlook will not only be tracked based on the text in the subject line, but even if the name of the program appears in the body, that email will still be tracked in that particular program's record. So for example, I'm going to send another email where I'm not going to mention the name of the program in my subject, but I'm going to mention it in my body. So I'm going to send it. So now let's check our Outlook. So I've received that email in my education grants folder. So if I click it, so as you can see, even though the name of the program is not in the subject of the email, but in the body of the email, that is education grants, still the email is being forwarded to the education grants folder. So that is a rule that we have set. Whether the name of the program is mentioned in the subject of the email or in the body, it will still be tracked in the respective programs folder. So not only emails, even activities like meetings, events, phone call. So all these activities will also be tracked in the D365 app, even though you've set it in the Outlook. So for that, we'll go to the D365 section. So I want to set up a meeting with this person. So now, even though I've done it in Outlook, if I go and check my D365 app, I will be able to see these activities in the timeline of the respective program and the contact. So I want to schedule a meeting regarding my research grants with this particular contact. So I'll go and click more actions and my D365 section. So if I click on these three dots and click on add activity and add appointment, I can set up this meeting. So the required attendees, I'm just going to Aparna Verma Gmail. So my subject is already showing regarding research grants. So I'll just update it. Follow up meeting regarding research grants. I'm going to set the time as 10 o'clock a.m. Save. So I have created an activity called meeting in my Outlook regarding research grant with this particular contact. So now this activity will show in the research grant record as well as that particular contacts record timeline. So let's check our D365 record. So under all programs, I'll go to my research grants. So I'll check the timeline and I can see that the meeting that I had scheduled from my Outlook is showing in my D365 research grants records timeline as well. So now let's check Aparna Gmail contact. So here also you can see that the meeting that I had scheduled in my Outlook is showing in that particular contacts timeline as well. Okay, so this is my grant management portal. So this is the website through which the various grant applicants would submit their applications, and they can also come back and check the status of the applications, like their review status, approval status, etc. So this is a very simple portal that I've created because this portal relates to just the pre-award phase of the grant management process. So it's a very simple portal and it doesn't require too many pages or menu items. So as you can see in my navigation bar, I just have two menu items. The first one being home, the second one being grant applications with a drop-down menu. And this drop-down consists of two items, that is my grant applications and reviews and approval status. So in this home page, I have basically embedded a Power BI dashboard for my grant applicant. So I'll come back to it later. First, let's see the main menu, that is grant applications, with a drop-down of two sub-menus, that is my grant applications and reviews and approval status. So right now, we are in my grant applications. So now, my grant applications, this is the main page of my portal, and this is the page where the grant applicants would mainly come and submit their applications. So they can directly create their applications from this page. As you can see, there's a create button here. So they can fill in their applications using this create button, and there's a search bar right next to it in case someone wants to search for any particular application of theirs. Now on the left side, you can see that there are two filters. The first one being for the programs. That is, as of now, we have just three programs. That is educational grants, housing grants, and research grants. And the second one being a filter for the funds requested. That is, if the funds requested by the applicant is less than $750,000 or more than $750. So we can basically filter their applications based on these two filter options, that is available programs and funds requested. Now next, you can see the view. It's quite simple and self-explanatory. So we just have certain basic columns for the view, that is proposal name, project description, program name, organization name, funds requested, and submission date. This is the same view that we have seen in our active grant application view in our grants management model-driven app. So now let's just see a demonstration of how we can create an application through this portal. Okay, so we click on the create button. So this is a multi-step form which will be filled in by the applicant, and all the steps in this multi-step form is the same as the tabs that we had seen in our grant application form in the model-driven app. So I've already gone through that, so I'll just quickly go through these steps as well. So like a model-driven app form, our first step is application and submission details. Proposal for housing community. Okay, and then I just choose a date. And I'll just move on to my next step. So my next step is organization and business details. So if you remember in our model-driven app, the moment I choose an organization name from this lookup, automatically other details like recipient business details, contact details, and address details pertaining to that particular organization will automatically appear in a quick view form. So here I can only see the organization that I belong to. Like if you remember in our model-driven app, we had like 3 organizations, but here the applicant would only be able to see the organization that they belong to. So this particular applicant, that is me, I belong to ABCL, so I'm only able to see this organization. So I'm just going to choose that and select. So you can see now, the quick view form has been updated with the recipient and business details. Whatever details are filled in my ABCL account form, all those details will appear here. Contact details, address details, etc. So now the next step is program funding and award details. So again, the moment I choose a program name from this lookup field, automatically the various details regarding that program will be updated through a quick view form. This is regarding housing, so I'll just click housing grants and select. So you can see all the details that we had filled in our housing grants program form appears here. As of now, I've just filled in few details like program ID, so that has appeared here. Now moving on to our next step. So our next step is certification details, and we've already seen this tab in our model-driven app, so I'm not going to go through it again. So moving on to my next step, that is project details. Again, I've already gone through this in my model-driven app, but I'll just type some description here like And one more thing you'll notice here is the project administrator field has been automatically updated with my name. That is because I've already associated my login with that of the project administrator lookup. So every time I try to create an application, this project administrator lookup field will automatically update itself with my name. Okay, so moving on to the next step, financial details. So again, I've already explained this in our model-driven app. This has like basic details like funds requested, etc. And cost allocation plan, indirect cost rate. Now my last section is cost proposal. And here first I have a field named cost proposal details, which is a text field. And next we have the field upload your cost proposal, where we can upload or attach our cost proposal using this add file button. So I can just choose a file, and if I want I can even add a file description. So I just add a random file. So the file has been attached to this form. And next is a subgrid whereby I can add individual cost items if I want to. But if I'm uploading my cost proposal, that might not be required. But here I have given the option to add individual cost items through the subgrid. So I'll just quickly show you. If I click on new cost item, a brief form appears whereby I can actually enter a cost item like say raw materials, add some amount, submit. So you can see that the cost item that I've entered now has appeared in my subgrid. So if I want, I can delete, edit, or view details. If I click on view details, I can see my details. And if I want to make some change, like I can click on edit. Maybe if I update the item description as I save. So you can see that the change has been updated here. Now moving on to my next step. So my next step is personal details, which I've already spoken about in our model-driven app. So my next section is past programs. Here we have a subgrid for the past programs, proposals, and projects. Then we have a section regarding the past performance details, which we have already discussed. So moving on to our next step, that's risk analysis. Again, we have already discussed about this in a model-driven app, so I'm not going to go through it again. And my last step is document uploads. And we have already uploaded one document in our cost proposal section, so that document is showing here. And for each document, I have the option to edit or delete the document. So now if I want, I can add more files to my documents. So that's it. So this is the last step in my form. And now if I click submit, we have a submission successful page. And if I click on click here to go back to your applications, it will take me back to the list of my grant applications page. So as you can see, the proposal that you have submitted right now is showing in my grant applications list. Now if I want, I can view details. or I can edit my details, or even delete this application. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit this form. Maybe I'll fill in my funds requested. Maybe I'll fill in 9 million. So you can see that 9 million has appeared here. So now let's check our filters. So the program name for the application I submitted just now is housing grants. So if I filter it and if I click on say education grants and apply filter, you will see that I don't have any applications to display because the program name of the application that we just submitted is housing grants. So now if I add housing grants to my filter and click on apply filter, I can see that my application is back. Okay, similarly, now funds requested. Now I have requested for 9 million. So now if I click on less than $750,000 and apply the filter, you will see that my application has disappeared because I've requested for 9 million. So if I click greater than $750,000 and apply filter, my application is back. So now let's check our second sub menu, that is reviews and approval status. So this page will basically show the reviews and approval status of all my proposals. So the proposal that we have submitted right now is being shown here, and the review status of this proposal is yet to review because we have just submitted the application. The view of this list consists of certain basic columns which will give a quick idea about the review status and approval status of their application date. So since we have just submitted the application, the review status has defaulted to the option yet to review. So this page cannot be updated or edited by the applicant themselves because this is a page that will be updated by the personnel of the grant making organization because they are the ones who are going to review the proposal and decide if it is approved or not. So they are going to update this review status and approval status of the various proposals. So you can see here, we don't have the options to edit or delete the record because this page is managed by the grant making organization. So all we can do is we have view details to check the review and approval status of our applications. So as we have seen in our model driven app, we had a tab called reviews and approval status, which we have not included in our grant application multi-step form because that's a form that the applicants have to fill in. But here in case of portal, we have the reviews and approval status as a separate section and a separate form, which will be updated or filled in by the grant making organization. So this form shows a quick snapshot of the proposal and submission details of the application, then the reviews and review status, the approvals by approval committee, and final approval details. So we have seen all these sections in our model-driven app, so I'm not going to explain this in detail. So let's just see how this reviews and approval status section is updated by the grant making organization. So for that, we'll have to go into our model-driven app. We can see that the proposal that the applicant had submitted right now is showing here. That is proposal for housing committee. And we can also see the various details that we have just filled in, like the program name, the funds requested, submission date, etc. So if we click on this record, we can see all the details that the applicant has filled in, including the file that they have uploaded in the timeline. Like in financial details, we can see the funds requested as 9 million. So now if we go to our reviews and approval section, this is where the grant making organization is going to update the reviews, approvals, and approval status of each application. Okay, let's just see a demonstration of how this process is going to look like. The grant making organization is going to update the reviews and approvals, and all the information that is updated in this model driven app of the grant making organization will automatically reflect in our portal in the reviews and approval status section of the grant applicant. So I'll just quickly create a review. So as you can see, the application details have been automatically field mapped here. So under review details, I'm just going to choose initial review. So you can see automatically the title of the review has been updated. I'm just going to save this. Now if I go back, I can see that the record has been updated, my review submitted. And now if I save this record, I can see that the review status has changed from yet to review to under review. So now under approval committee, if I just create a new record, again, the application details have been mapped here. Approval details, like approval designatory, say maybe director. Approval name, say Alex Baker. Approval status, maybe approved. Approval date, just click some. And if I save this record, if I go back, I can see that the record has appeared in my approval committee subgrid. And I'll just give a review score, like say maybe 7. Let's save this and go back. So if I click on this final scores and if I update the score, you can see that the score of 7 has appeared here. Okay, let's just say we have approved the application. Amount approved is say 7 million instead of 9 million. And if I save this, the status date will automatically appear and the record has closed with an inactive status. So now let's just go and check our portal and let's see if the reviews and approval status section has been updated. So as you can see here, based on the updates that we have made in the grant management app, those updates are being reflected in the reviews and approval status page of the applicant. So you can see here the review status has changed from under review to reviewed, and the approval status has changed to approved. Now if you click on the record, you can see the other details as well, like the reviews, the review scores, the approvals, the final scores, the amount approved, etc. Let's just go back to our list. And we have a search button here in case a particular applicant has many applications. So that's our reviews and approval status page. So this is our main menu, which has two sub-menus. And now let's check the home page. As I mentioned earlier, the home page consists of the Power BI dashboard, which depicts various information and details that the applicant can see at a quick glance. So this is my grants management homepage, and here I've embedded the Power BI dashboard. So the reason why I created this Power BI dashboard for my portal as well is because I just want to show like how you can integrate the Power BI dashboard not only with our model-driven app but also in Power Pages. Now this dashboard is different from the dashboard that I had shown you in my grants management model-driven app, because that dashboard is for the entire app which will be used by a grant-making organization, whereas this dashboard is for the grant applicants, people who would basically submit their proposals and apply for a grant. So we've already gone through the main menu of this portal. So this portal is quite simple since it relates to just the pre-award phase and quite sufficient for the simple app that we have created. So since this portal is going to be from the perspective of the applicant, when the applicant logs in, what the applicant needs to see and the various navigation menu options that the applicants would need to use to navigate through the site and to submit their proposals and to come back and check the reviews and the status of their proposals. And as I mentioned earlier, the grant applicant who logs into this portal would see only data and information relating to their application. So that's why my Power BI dashboard is quite simple. So the title of my dashboard is My Applications and Status. So we have just three visuals here. The first one is a card visual, which shows the total number of applications that this particular applicant has submitted. So next is a pie chart that represents the review status of applications. So as you can see, it's a choice field as we had mentioned earlier in relation to the Power BI dashboard that we have used for our model-driven app. And here it contains three options: yet to review, under review, and reviewed. So it's quite self-explanatory. Now let's move on to our next visual or chart. That is a donut chart, which represents the approval status of the applications to see how many of these applications have been approved and how many of them have been rejected. Then last but not the least, we have a profile editing page. So if you go here, you can edit your profile. Now each grant applicant will only be able to see their grant applications or the grant applications which pertain to their organization. Again, you can change the setting for the login as being if a particular contact can see only his applications, or if that person can see all the applications that pertain to his or her organization. That is ABCL in this case. So that is a setting which we can modify.